Hello, hello, hello. It's Kiana Kianna Keyanna. That's Kiana 3 times, spelled 3 different ways. Same vibe, same K. Yes. Now, welcome to PTSDiaries. Yes, PTSDiaries. If you've heard of that before, it's been a long time coming. This is episode 1, baby, of PTSDiaries. Okay, the podcast. It's been a long time coming. And I just want to get started with, me. I am Kiana Kianna Keyanna. I am a model, writer, and advocate for mental and emotional health. So this first episode is just going to be me talking to myself, but expect to see artists and co-hosts coming up soon. Milo, the Generation Hero, along with a few others. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. If you know me, if you love me, if you've heard PTSDiaries before, you know that this has been a long time coming, years to be exact. So thank you for listening. Thank you for the support. Man. So PTSDiaries, what is PTSDiaries? Post-traumatic stress disorder diaries. So if you don't know, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. So in 2016, I was hit by a car while crossing the street. So that's a question that I get a lot every time I talk about the accident. I was hit by a car while crossing the street. So yes, a car made contact with my body. I have no memory of the actual accident itself. I was with a friend with the same name as me, ironically. Yeah, so a few ailments that I suffered from: I fractured my neck, and I have 6 screws in my shoulder still. I broke my humerus. My humerus came out of my arm, and this is the scar that they cut me to put it back. The screws can never come out because it's structurally a part of me now. I damaged my ACL and MCL, and yes, I'm smiling while saying this because these are all things that I overcame. Damaged my ACL, I had a punctured lung, and I had blunt force trauma to the head. My hair is covering it up right now, but my head hit the pavement and literally the white meat was showing in my head. I had stitches in my forehead that took forever to close. And because the forehead itself on the human body is a high tension area, so the stitches did not stay put. So I had to keep gauze over my head, and I'll upload pictures soon, probably. But those are just a few things that I had to overcome. But once again, to give a rundown of the injuries that came from that accident: a fractured neck, which I essentially broke my spine, and I was in a neck brace. Punctured lung, blunt force trauma to the head, and a head wound. The head wound was so big that it cut off half of my eyebrow, and then it was cut off some of my hairline. So it was, just imagine it being this big, and it's almost invisible now. Damaged my ACL and my MCL on my right leg because I was hit from the right side. I was in the intensive care unit for a couple of days. I do not remember the first 3 days that I was in the hospital. When I was in the hospital, the doctors had to keep telling me who I was. I didn't know what day it was. I didn't know my name, things like that. I was a fall risk because of my knee. And actually, doctors said that I wouldn't walk again. So everything is a blessing. I strive every day to not look like the things that I've been through. And as long as I have breath in my body, I can overcome anything, God willing, in Jesus' name, okay? But that was the groundwork for PTSDiaries, because as I was healing physically, I definitely had post-traumatic stress disorder because I didn't want to go outside. After that accident, that happened when I was 19, August 11th in 2016, the year after I graduated, because I graduated in 2015. I actually don't remember a lot of high school because of blunt force trauma to the head. So, also when I got hit by a car, I was hit so hard that I was knocked out of my shoes off of impact. They never found my shoes, and they never found my phone from that time. So all of the photos that were in that phone from high school and from 2016, prior 2016 and back, I have no pictures. I have no pictures from high school, really. And that's just crazy. So as I recovered and healed, some mental things that I went through include, but are not limited to, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, once again, post-traumatic stress disorder. I did not want to go outside. I had all these bandages and ailments. I had an arm sling, I had a leg brace and a neck brace, and I just didn't want to go outside. When I was at home, I would close all of the curtains and stuff like that. I just wanted darkness, which that was a part of my depression. I went to physical therapy for about 3 to 6 months, but I just wanted to hurry up and be normal again. But the mental health issues had a long-lasting effect and still affect me to this day. Prime example, car anxiety, okay? Like, that happened in 2016 when I was 19. I didn't get my driver's license until I was 22, 23. So about 3 or 4 years later, and I wasn't even driving. You know what I'm saying? I was scared to cross the street by myself. A lot of different things that came after that accident that I at first was not aware of. Let's start with that. And also, PTSDiaries came from me writing down my feelings and emotions. I am also a poet. And I've been performing for the last year. I've been performing Dear Black Man. I've been performing at open mics, just putting myself out there. And it's been a wonderful journey. It is a wonderful way that I have found within myself to express my pain and turn it into passion, poetry. And I believe deep down that part of my purpose is mental and emotional health. All of this is mental and emotional health. I took certain psychology classes, but I do not have a degree, but that does not mean that I am not certified in what I feel. And I'm not an expert in emotions because I have felt all the feels. But yes, that's PTSDiaries. That's about me. That's about my background. Also, when I was in recovery from being hit by a car, it didn't sink in to me mentally that I got hit by a car, and that, well, I felt all of the ailments. I felt the pain. I definitely felt it, but it didn't register to me that I was hit by a car. But even saying that and taking accountability for things like that, I'm taking accountability for that, but at the time it registered as guilt. And so with that same thing being said, the thoughts that used to run through my mind, like, I got hit by a car, what if I just, step in front of another one? But it's been a long time coming. I realized that I was given another chance because my will is not done here. God is not done with me. And I'm just so thankful to be here, and that's why I smile when I say some of the ailments, because it's almost no evidence of it at this point, outside of mental and emotional health. So yes, I'm a testimony. But one of the most important things that helps me overcome those feelings of doubt is just, first of all, family. I love my family so much. I still have my parents in my life. I love my parents, my cousins, my aunties, everybody that prayed for me, because I beat all of the odds. Like I said, the doctor said that I wouldn't walk again. When I was at the hospital, I was at Advocate Christ Hospital, and the priest, like the hospital priest, came and gave his condolences to my parents. So basically, they were about to call it one. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I wear contacts. When I was in the hospital, my contacts had popped out of my eye. Like, I don't know how that happened, but I was essentially in a coma for 2 days. So, with my eyes being closed, one of my contacts was like sitting on my eyelashes, on my eyelid or something like that. So they, and my mama always says, like, when we first came to the hospital, when I touched you, your body was cold, and once again, I strive every day not to look like the things that I've been through. So it's a blessing. And positivity is not easy. especially with circumstances like that. So, you know, I believe in journaling, affirmations, saying positively affirming statements about yourself. I am not my circumstances. I am healthy, whole, and complete. Things like that. Those are just a few affirmations that I live by. So, yeah. That's a quick rundown of me. Once you guys watch this, you can ask any questions that you have about me, my recovery, my accident, or actually, I take that back. You can ask any questions that you have, but it's not my accident. It's my recovery, but the accident that I bounced back from. Also, that is one of the ways that I overcome and combat mental health, by just changing the way that I talk about things. These things are not mine to have. I dealt with depression, but it is not my depression. Okay? Also, one thing about PTSDiaries that will be implemented, you guys can submit your stories, or if you want to be on PTSDiaries, to talk about the things that you overcame or things that you've been through that affected you mentally and emotionally. I want to open the floor for you guys. But at the end of PTSDiaries, it will be PTS punchlines. So it's where you take a piece of your trauma. Also, I will be defining trauma after this. Take a piece of your trauma and turn it into a catchy punchline, PTS punchlines. So a few of the topics that I have in store, which will be, so this PTS punchlines is, I can overcome anything. I've been hit by cars and bit by dogs. That's another story. Yeah, bit by pit bull. PTSD can come from anything. Trauma can come from anything. And there is a such thing as relationship trauma. So one of the upcoming episodes will be, or PTS punchlines, my man had a man. And that's just PTS punchlines. Oh, that's another thing. After you say the traumatic event or the punchline, after you say the post-traumatic punchline, you have to say PTSDiaries at the end. So my man had a man, PTSDiaries. But that will be coming up soon. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Let's deconstruct that emotional illness, and it's more prevalent. And then I'm from Chicago, and PTSD is very prevalent. So post-traumatic stress disorder. What is trauma? Trauma is a stressing situation or event that affects you mentally afterwards. So trauma is anything that changes your way of thinking after it happens. So trauma can be relationships, natural disasters, discrimination for the Black community. That is a form of trauma, which that can be generational trauma too, because we have trauma and untrusting situations with police and things like that. But I digress. Trauma can also be childhood events, which is where a lot of our trauma originated. So there are 3 types of trauma. So acute, chronic, and complex. So acute trauma, I like to describe it as, well, acute trauma is defined as stemming from one event or situation. So the example that I like to use is if you almost drowned when you were younger, like if you had a bad experience with a pool, and then now you're afraid of water. Now you never go back to pools, or you never, you know what I'm saying? That stemmed from one incident in your life. Chronic trauma is prolonged or ongoing trauma, which example is a rough upbringing or an abusive relationship because it's over a prolonged period of time. Yeah, chronic trauma can be defined as a bad relationship because it's not just one thing, but it's over years, and so it can affect you in a lot of different ways. Like if you were in an abusive relationship, that affects your relationships moving forward, and you can avoid certain things, or it can just diminish you as a person. That becomes part of who you are, so it affects how you act in the world. And the last type of trauma is complex trauma. complex trauma cannot be traced back to one person, place, thing, or event. Complex trauma, and that's why it's complex. And I believe that people who live in Chicago, we experience complex trauma because just certain things that we just know based off living in Chicago that affect us, like being in parties and paranoia and things like that, where we don't want to let our guard down. That's trauma. That's PTSD. Another example that I like to use it with like trauma, complex trauma, us knowing the difference between an airplane and a helicopter. Think about that for a second. So an airplane, we know an airplane is passing, but a helicopter, we know the sound of it because it sounds like it's hovering over somebody, and we usually relate that to meaning that, oh, the police are looking for somebody. You know what I'm saying? They're in the sky and they're looking down and they have their, sometimes flashlights on, scanning the cities. So I attribute that to complex trauma. So those are the three main types of trauma. Yeah. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSDiaries. It is Kiana Kianna Keyanna. I'm gonna cut this one short. But if you like what you heard, if you want to hear more, I'm coming with facts. I'm coming with experiences as well. So, a few stories that are upcoming. Like I said, my man had a man. That was an incident where, I was in a relationship and, quote unquote, DL. You know what I'm saying? Or things like that. But also what I want to say about PTSDiaries, nothing that is said in any of my stories is for the purposes of exposing anybody or, you know what I'm saying? Everything that is talked about, discussed, or anybody that is brought up or has personal experience in any of my stories, it's not to expose you, to embarrass you, or anything like that. I am talking about my personal experiences and how they affected me mentally and emotionally, okay? It's ain't about you, Bookie. But yes, closing out PTSDiaries, it is Kiana Kianna Keyanna. Another thing that I'm doing, or the initiative that I am starting, is Mental Health Monday. Mental Health Monday is designed to change the way that we think about Mondays. So Monday is the first day after the holiday, and everybody, I have to go to work, and people have just a bad representation of Mondays. But I would like to change that because Monday is the first day of the week, and then so we want to start off on the right foot positively and, regain and reset, refocus for the rest of the week. We want to shake the weekend off of us because, drinking and all of that other stuff, we want to reset our mindset so that we can build momentum for the rest of the week. So Mental Health Monday is about resetting your mindset. In so many words, Mental Health Monday. Also, I have a talk segment on POET Radio, Voices Behind the Pen, and my segment is Mental Health Monday, where I get about 2 to 5 minutes to just showcase different topics, mental health, illnesses, and definitions and things like that. I will be dropping the phone number so that you can call and listen in. POET Radio, Voices Behind the Pen. Poets call in and share their poetry pieces, and we give feedback from artist to artist. So tune into that. I'll be dropping information for that. It is Kiana Kianna Keyanna. Thank you.